Redditors who work or have worked in retail, what's your rhyme about to lose my shit moment you had with a customer? Years ago I worked in a liquor store in Australia and a foreign looking woman came in, wearing a black veil. She walked up to the counter and said, "Beer black duck." "Sorry? Beer black duck. Suddenly it hit me. She wanted Swan Lager. Took her up the back of the store and pointed to see if I was right and she nodded happily. Rang it up and off she went with a carton of Swan. Guy slammed a hot water bottle down on the counter and loudly exclaimed, with wife nodding in agreement behind him, that he'd put cold water in it 3 hours ago and it still wasn't hot. She's nodding in agreement, lol. Two dumb as hell people found each other, and I bet they had a few dumb as hell kids. What a love story. Had a woman come in and request a large drink in a small cup. I asked her to repeat that. She reiterated she wanted a large drink, but in a small cup. I told her that wasn't possible. This went on and on, her yelling that it wasn't that difficult to understand. I'm trying to tell her that they are different volumes. Eventually I filled up a large, got a small cup and dead-eyed her while pouring the large in until it overflowed and went all over the counter. IDK if this counts as retail, but I was an intern at an aquarium and while working at the touch tank, a kid swallowed a handful of sand. I told his mother and she told me that he was only 4. He proceeded to swallow another handful of sand. Don't you know that 4-year-olds need to eat sand as part of a healthy diet? When I was a kid, I worked at a fast food restaurant and opened on the weekends. Toward the end of the breakfast rush, some guy comes through with a huge order. We were getting ready for lunch and didn't have anything he wanted already made, so it took us a few minutes to get it together. He starts cussing at me that he is late for church and I need to hurry the hell up. I explain that I will get his food out as soon as the cooks are done, but that's not good enough for him. I finally reached my limit and told him he should probably leave the house early next Sunday. Dude fucking throws hot coffee on me through the drive-thru window. My manager sees this and asks me how much their food is. He then pulls that amount out of the register, throws it at the man, and tells him to get the fuck out of his drive-thru. The guy threatens to call the cops, and my boss told him they were already on the way and he needed to leave if he didn't want to get arrested for assault. I still wonder if he made it to church on time. Obviously hypochondriac woman comes to my till wearing surgical gloves with her things in a bag. States she can't give her things to me because of money hands with a look of absolute disgust before reaching round and scanning her items. She then says she's paying in card and would like cash back, and I explain she needs to put her card in the machine and not use contactless if she would. She says yes but then still pays via contactless and is then completely shocked when I explain she can't have cash back unless she makes another transaction with her card in, as I'd explained. She then had a massive go about how I should have told her before. Kinda glad she stormed out of the shop so quickly and I didn't have a chance to properly lose my shit. I worked in a gas station where we had a notorious customer we referred to as Can Guy. Every month our station put coupons in the paper for 1.00 of free gas. 1 coupon per customer per visit. Can Guy would collect these coupons and then come park his car on the adjacent street and then go post up on one of our pumps and get gas. $1 at a time. He'd pump $1, come in and give us the coupon, and go walk out to the sidewalk, off the property, and then turn around, and do it again, for hours. As a pump attendant we have to approve every pump by pushing a button. So every 3 minutes for hours at a time we'd be stuck standing at the till, doing the same transaction over and over. The longest I clocked him doing this for was 2.5 hours. Corporate added an addendum to the coupons because of him pulling that shit. Edit. He was called Can Guy because he did all this with a 1-gallon red gas can. Last year, or maybe 2 years ago, Visa payment was down for a few hours in most of Europe. We had a notice about it on the door and on each and every till, and I was telling every customer before starting scanning their items that they won't be able to pay with card as Visa payment is down in most of the continent, and if he wants I can scan it all, suspend it, basically put transaction on hold while being able to scan other customers' stuff, put it in the back, and he can come back with cash. ATMs did work, are beat slow. One customer demanded that I fix the issue because he only pays with debit card and is not going to ATM. I just said, sir, if I could fix a country's wide visa outage I wouldn't be working in store brand. Some of our freezers went down and we had to pull stuff out to put it in the storage freezer. We had pallets and trying to get everything done fast. It was a whole ordeal. I was cold, wet, annoyed. This lady in her electric cart that smelled like shit got mad because we were in the way and said, "I'm so tired of the laziness in this store. This is bullshit." And before I could stop myself, I just yelled, "Well, you smell like shit." I'm so surprised I did not get into trouble. I would completely understand if I did. Smack. Home run. Threw a pile of jackets at my feet and exclaimed, "Now you have something to fucking do." I was mid-transaction on the till. What? And I cannot stress this enough. The fuck? While working at Lowe's, a guy tried returning an item with no receipt. Turns out that item is only sold by Home Depot, so I told the customer we couldn't give him a store credit. He lost his shit saying he's 100% sure he bought it at a hardware store. Yup, not this one. Wouldn't take no for an answer, so I brought up the item on the computer and showed him it was sold by Home Depot. Then showed him our website where the item didn't exist. He got pissed and mid-Saturday afternoon yells, "Are you fucking stupid?" I wanted to punch him right in his mouth. A girl asked me to get her a Buzz Lightyear toy from a shelf. Done. 5 minutes later her bitchy parents are complaining that I gave her a boy toy. Personal feelings and rage aside, I tried to de-escalate with, "Yes, I suppose Buzz is a boy and a toy." Never got written up so fast in my life. God, I have so many stories about parents being deranged about gendering. From when I worked at a toy store in high school, we used to stick a little ribbon on any toy we wrapped, and the rules about which colors were for which gender. It got intense. Toys and clothes for kids are the worst. I can't stand parents who are convinced toy and clothes preference sets sexual orientation and gender identification. I had a woman call about how a stain remover she purchased from the store messed her couch up. I was so confused and was like, "Okay, we can refund you for the stain remover if you kept your receipt." She wanted us to refund her the cost of fixing her couch. I informed her that since we are a drugstore we can't really do that. She then proceeded to suggest I come to her house and fix her couch. Again I explain how we are in no way responsible for fixing her couch and suggest she look on the back of the product for a 1-800 number. She then suggests that I do that for her. At that point I repeated the 1-800 number suggestion and hung up on her cause. WTF. Either that was a prank call or that woman was huffing stain remover. Some customers really do have the strangest logical mayo. I'm a barista and used to have this regular customer who would just talk my ear off every weekend about the most mundane shit, how much money he was making as a car salesman, etc. One day he came in, and as I was ringing up his order, he noticed my wedding ring and said, "You never told me you were married." Like I'd kept this big secret from him, even though I wear my ring every single day and never expressed the slightest interest in him. The standard greeting for customers clearly should be, "Good morning. I'm married. What can I get for you today?" I read a story from someone, probably on Reddit, who had a guy randomly get into his car and took several exchanges to explain he was not this guy's Uber, at which point the guy said he should have a sign to indicate that. 1. Why are you getting in a random car without checking it against the info Uber sends you about your pickup? 2. Can you imagine if everyone drove around with a sign "Not Uber"? Some people definitely lose their logic when they end up having made unwarranted assumptions. Worked at a clothing store. A woman tried to return something she clearly worn, washed, and ruined. We told her there was no way we could accept it, and she demanded to speak to the manager. Manager came out, told her the same, and this woman left screaming that she hoped the store would burn down with us in it. I worked with a guy who punched a customer once. He was standing at the register and a customer came in to return a set of tools and literally threw the set down on the counter, causing screwdrivers and tools to fly across the counter and hitting the employee. I only have 2 stories about violence against the customer. One involved an employee who we didn't know was bipolar, having some sort of breakdown that resulted in him deciding that slapping a customer fiddling with the volume on a display boombox at a Best Buy. And the other is basically the reason Jimmy John's crew don't throw sandwiches anymore down the line. Let's just say it involved a drive-through window and a guy in a convertible on a phone. Worked at a gas station in the early 2000s. This guy pulls up and tried to pump gas while holding a cigarette in his hand. This is normal in my country. Leaving the engine running and smoking. I once had an idiot try to mug me that was smoking while I was pumping gas. I pulled the nozzle out, pointed it at him, then looked at his cigarette. He got the point. You would have just put out his cigarette. Good thing he didn't know gasoline is not flammable. A friend worked at a really busy McDonald's, and one time a customer kinda threw the money at her disdainfully because they had taken too long to serve her. My friend let her anger get the best of her and threw the change back at her. The customer asked to speak to the manager to complain, and after she told him what had happened, he said that she shouldn't have thrown the money at his employee if he didn't want the change thrown back at her. The woman was outraged and threatened with vague consequences, but the manager was like, "What are you gonna do? Boycott McDonald's? I think the company will survive that hard blow. Brah fucking though." Damn. I remember those customers. No matter who helped them, no matter when they came in, they act like the thickest bitchiest pricks imaginable over simple stuff. Imagine leaving the house to do normal stuff normal people do every day without drama, and these people purposely fuck it up and have to throw a fit. It never crosses their minds how people can do this without making a scene, but here they are screaming about tacos like a lunatic. Dumb and emotionally compromised, it's a bad combo. The older I get, the more I realize how fucking pathetic their lives are. It's usually a lack of control with emotions / relationship / family stability, and the food attendants become their free therapy. Old lady poked a hole in the last 6 or 7 green peppers we had left. They were already on sale, but she knew we sold damaged / past its prime produce for a big discount. I just threw them away and said we can't sell them. It made me so mad. She was a pain in my ass at that store all the time. I work at a small town bank. Everyone knows everyone. I moved here recently with my fiancé. It's his hometown. I had a customer come up to me asking if he could cash a check. Our policy is to only cash not on us checks if they have an account. So I ask, "Sir, do you have an account with us?" He flips his shit telling me that I should look it up and do my fucking job. Everyone knows him. He is a member of this community. I cover my name tag and ask, "Sir, what is my name?" He huffs and says he didn't know. I said, "Exactly. If you don't know who I am, how do you expect me to know who you are? Also, I will need to see your ID because I don't know who you are." He walked to the next teller in line who knew him and cashed his check. Good news is he never comes to my line and waits for someone else, which is fine with me. Worked part-time retail whilst at university. One night we'd closed the shop, but there was still a customer shopping round, so we went and asked her if she could leave, as it was now about 10 minutes after close and she had shown no intent of buying anything. The woman then proceeded to look down her nose at all of us and states that she's a doctor and so she should be allowed to continue. Frankly, I don't really care what a person's job is, as it doesn't entitle them to shit and looking down on every member of staff in the store when most of us were all students studying pretty solid degrees. She definitely needed some basic skills in respect more than she needed some new clothes. Years and years ago I worked as a waiter in a upscale restaurant. I always provided the same service, attentive and non-intrusive. I was leaving this job on this particular night as I had found another job. Most of the night went smoothly until one couple, no matter what I did, seemed to be pleased. The salad came too late, there wasn't enough dressing, the wine was off, you name it they complained. I worked to fix everything, despite little was wrong, and was apologetic as I always was when the situation warranted. When they were finished and I provided their check, they told me, "You have to be the rudest waiter we have ever encountered." Did I mention this was my last night here? I replied, "Like I give a fuck, blow it out your ass." I left my shift a bit earlier that night, but felt on top of the world. I work as a customer service agent for Amazon. It's more shocking to go a day without a customer freakout. One of the newest reasons for a freakout I got recently. Their package was being shipped by USPS. There was a scan on the tracking number that said something along the lines of, "As per the agreement between the customer and carrier, this package has been redirected to a new address." Then there's about 10 minutes of yelling about how this is our fault. She set it to this address because that's where she wanted it delivered, that we did something, that we are going to fix it, etc. Then the magic words come out of her mouth, which I had been trying to tell her the whole time, but kept getting cut off to get yelled at. Well, I have my mail forwarded to another address, but that shouldn't happen with packages. I used to work at American Eagle. I was ringing out a customer and realized he stuffed every pocket of cargo shorts with boxes. I asked him what he thought he was doing, and he just said it's a BOGO deal.